We have some wonderful news to discuss today, but also a sense of urgency. Let me turn off all of my devices. I got a very interesting letter or newsletter today, and it was within the newsletter a letter from David Sheckchman, the co-founder of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company. So this letter is a sense of urgency to everybody everybody really in the world who is interested in gold, silver, interested in protecting your assets, or just interested in knowing about what's going on in the world as it relates to finances and economics. So joyous rising, happy rising, great rising, grand rising, good morning, good afternoon. And for those of you who are outside of the United States, it may even be a good evening. I'm so glad to have everybody here today on a beautiful, beautiful Monday afternoon. Check in and let us know where you're checking in from, family. There's so much going on as interest rates are raising, inflation is going through the roof, and people are starting to panic. Now, we over here desire for everyone to be proactive. When you're proactive and you take responsibility for your life, you don't have to stress out or worry. You prepare in advance. But the time is running out for preparation because many wholesalers are running out of product. We have supply chain interruptions. We have millionaires and billionaires rushing to get gold and silver right now because they see what's happening. Now, we've been talking about de-dollarization for many, many years, and we've been talking about how the world would move to gold at some point once this financial system based on fiat dollars backed by nothing completely collapses. So let's tune into what David Sheckchman, the co-founder of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company, says today. He stepped in and had to deliver an urgent message to all of our soul family and to the people who are interested in knowing what's going on economically. So we're very, very fortunate that David Sheckchman, which I believe is Andy's dad, the co-founder of Miles Franklin, took the time out to write this newsletter. Good morning. Oh, London evening. I'm sorry, London is saying good evening. Good evening, London. Hello, Atlanta, Northern California. I see you, family, from all over the place. Hi, Canada and Hawaii. It's so good to see everybody. Hello, Soul Tribe. We're glad that you're checking in. Let's look at this very important letter from David Sheckchman, co-founder of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company. Even if you're not into gold and you haven't started stacking silver or gold as of yet, you need to see this letter so that you can know what's going on behind the scenes, because a lot of people don't know. Here we go. Hello, Daytona Beach. Oh, I think I left. I got the wrong letter. Let me see. Here we go. I'm going to bring it up. Here's another one. So basically what he says is things are getting pretty urgent, and he decided to write a letter so that we can see how things are looking from his lens. This letter again is from David Sheckchman, the co-founder of Miles Franklin. Let me let you see the top of this. This is the newsletter that I got from him from Miles Franklin. You can follow Miles Franklin on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So check in, family. Keep letting people know where you're coming from. I'm looking for some water. I must have left it in the other room. I'll just drink my tea. So we're going to get into this letter right now, and we're going to dissect it a little bit just so you can know why this message is urgent. From David Sheckchman. Here we go. Hello, Daytona Beach in Tennessee. Yes, I'm doing wonderfully today. I hope everybody is doing well. So let's get into this urgent message. Many of you do not know me. I, along with Andy Sheckchman, founded Miles Franklin in 1990. For years, I wrote a newsletter that we sent out on a weekly and often daily basis, David says. Though I retired from Miles Franklin many years ago, Since 1983, I've continued to follow the market and possess a broad understanding of what's happening and where it's all headed. Now, a CEO or founder of a company that deals with precious metals would need to know what's going on economically and geopolitically, as they do at Miles Franklin. I'm deeply concerned about what I see going on now. The speed with which things are changing is alarming. Pay attention, family. The increase in interest rates isn't about how much things have changed, but rather the speed at which they are changing is difficult to possess and make sense of it all. This is why I'm sending out this email. I want you to be fully aware of what's happening. And it's crucial to your financial well being that you not only understand it, but also factor in the speed at which things are happening. Things are happening very rapidly. So, this is why there's a sense of urgency. There's a time to think about what you see, what's happening, and there is a time to act. There's a time to think about what's happening, and then there's a time to act. I'm suggesting that the time to act is now. This is a sense of urgency, and David's going to go on in this letter to talk about why you must act now. Do not sit on the sidelines to watch what's going on. We've been reporting this for years. Andy Sheckchman, the CEO of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company, has been reporting this for years. I've been reporting this for years, and some of your Austrian economists have been saying something is about to happen. People were sitting on the sidelines and didn't want to listen, but the time now is to act right now. Here's what you should know. The world is de-dollarizing at an alarming and accelerating pace. Brazil, the second largest exporter of corn in the world, and China have just struck a deal to ditch the United States dollar in favor of their own currencies and trade transactions. That's very important to note. In favor of their own currencies. For those of you who hold exotic currencies outside of the United States dollar, you need to hear this, that they're now operating in favor of their own currencies to trade in their own currencies, which means that their currencies are valuable. They are no longer not valuable. They're now becoming more stabilized because countries have repatriated their gold back to them, and they're utilizing all their resources now to support or back their currencies. So Brazil and China have just struck a deal to ditch the United States dollar in favor of their own currencies and trade transactions. All of the BRICS nations, along with the ever-expanding list of countries that comprise the BRICS plus nations, either already have or soon will trade outside the dollar. We already know this, have known this. I've given you many videos, and I will put those in the description section, that talks about how there was a trigger to de-dollarize. And that trigger was called Project Sandman. And this is an agreement of 209 countries that, when triggered, they would drop the dollar and stop using it for trade and go to their own currencies and return to the gold standard. The gold standard. Andy has been warning about this for the last 3 years, and now it is a reality. So people have been sounding the alarm for a long time, and now it is real. We can see it happening. It's being reported in the mainstream media. And I will show you those articles in case you missed my broadcast, where I've talked about how the mainstream media is now talking about this sense of urgency to do something because we've reached the debt ceiling. And they've talked about how Brazil and China are working together to drop the United States dollar. They're also even mentioning Saudi Arabia and how Saudi Arabia has joined BRICS, which is very important. And you all know why. Because what made the USD the world reserve currency was our agreement with Saudi Arabia that will protect their kingdom in exchange for oil, and then we will force all the world to then trade with the United States dollar. Well, now that's no longer a reality, because once Putin left the United States dollar, he led the BRICS Union to also de-dollarize or drop the United States dollar for trade, and he then created this union and encouraged everybody to use their own currencies within that union, the BRICS Union, and or the ruble, Russian ruble, backed by gold. And this is why the Russian ruble became the highest performing currency in 2022. After he did that, Saudi Arabia joined BRICS. Keep in mind, by the time you hear information in the mainstream media, it's already happened. It has happened already. So the Saudis have applied to join the BRICS, and they will soon accept any major currency for their oil. The dollar's days as the sole world reserve currency are over. This is coming from the founder of Miles Franklin, David Sheckchman. What does this mean for you? The dollar's days as a sole world reserve currency are over. What does this mean for you? Much higher inflation. The dollar will be worth less and rapidly rising prices. So what does that mean for you? As Andy Sheckchman, his son, the CEO of Miles Franklin, have told us, is when all these countries drop the United States dollar, what happened is all those dollars then begin to flood into the United States. I reported last year and actually years ago that country after country had already made in their mind to drop the dollar. But most recently, we've reported how once the BRICS nations left the United States dollar, that was 40% of the world population. 40%. Okay. Then you had Saudi Arabia to join BRICS. Then other countries started joining. And I have a video where I talk about all those countries that they haven't even told you about in the mainstream media, from Central America, South America, Australia, even all over the world have dropped the United States dollar, such that now 80 to 85% of the global population have left the United States dollar. So what David is saying here is us having the world reserve currency is over, since all those nations, 80 to 85% of the global population, has dropped the dollar. As Andy has explained to us, those dollars now come flooding back into the United States and they lose their value. They become worthless or worth less than they had been. Then, in order to combat that, you have to raise the prices. But the word about this is spreading fast. Miles Franklin's business has never been this strong. We have never seen anything like the demand in the past 2 weeks. This is why we've been telling everybody, do what you can. Get gold, get silver, get constitutional silver, or what they call junk silver. There's nothing junky about junk silver. It's 90% silver. Sterling silver is 92% silver. Get silver coins, silver rounds, whatever you can get. Even if you get sterling silver, which is 92% silver, you can get that from a consignment shop, from a sale, some estate sales. You can get it from your local coin dealer. You can get junk silver, constitutional silver from Miles Franklin, as you can get any silver and or gold. But the business has never been this strong. We've never seen anything like this demand in the past 2 weeks. What has happened in the past 2 weeks? The banking crises. So a while ago, we had Silicon Valley Bank to collapse. We've had other smaller banks in the United States to collapse. And then we've had larger banks like Deutsche Bank in Europe to collapse. So we see the larger banks collapsing in Europe, and that's spreading across the globe, and smaller banks collapsing here in America. And that's significant because what will happen is the deposits here that were in those smaller banks will now transfer into the larger banks in hopes that they get a bailout. But how can you bail out these banks when we don't have the money in the United States? The United States corporation does not have the money to bail out these banks. So you see a large crisis that's just blowing up. We already heard Janet Yellen on January 19th say that we've reached the debt ceiling. There's nowhere to go. You can't keep printing money. You can't keep increasing the debt. So those banks, some may get a bailout, but I'm not so sure that the United States Incorporated has the money, especially since the United States Incorporated, as we know it, is bankrupt and defunct. So David Sheckchman is saying we've never seen anything like this demand in the past 2 weeks. The demand is based on fear, not greed. Fear is the strongest motivator. People do not know what's going to happen. Are they going to bring out the central bank digital currencies, the CBDCs? Are they going to roll that out and surveil us? And it be like the mark of the beast. And now we have to give an account for everything that we buy and sell. And we're being heavily monitored. And if we don't do what they say, then will they shut off our chip? People are afraid. Or Is everybody going to make a bank run right now and run and get their money out of the bank because of the banking crises? And we don't know if these banks are going to get a bailout like they did under number 44 in 2008. People are afraid. This isn't even about greed. This is about being afraid, being concerned, because a wise man or woman leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So everybody that's concerned about their posterity is saying, I have to protect my wealth. I have to protect my savings. I have to make sure I even have something to trade with, which is why some people are getting junk silver or constitutional silver, because that 90% silver, those silver dimes, silver quarters, silver dollars and half dollars that they used to use prior to what? 1970, that were minted before 1964, merchants recognize constitutional silver or junk silver as money. So that's why some people are saying, I might not be able to afford gold and silver, but I can at least get constitutional silver or junk silver. I can go to my local coin shop. I can go to a consignment shop. I can shop at an estate sale and get what I can. Even if I don't have a lot of money, I can put money with my family members, with people in my community, or with my friends, and have my own central bank. But I'm decentralizing my money. I'm not keeping it in the bank when I know that the banks are collapsing. So they're doing things based on fear. It's not even about greed and trying to just store up a lot. It's about making sure my family can eat and live. But fear is the strongest motivator. The banking crisis, which is just getting started, has motivated tens of thousands of people to convert their dollars into gold and silver. This demand leads to two things: higher premiums and shortages. Let me repeat that: higher premium and shortages and delays, and it will only get worse. So people are motivated to do something to make sure their money is safe because of the banking crisis, and to make sure they have some type of wealth. Because as Andy Sheckchman has always said, gold and silver are wealth. Yes, it's lawful money according to the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, but it is also wealth. And so when you have tens of thousands of people converting their gold, their money, or their dollars, their fiat, their greenbacks into gold and silver, this demand leads to high premiums and shortages, as well as delays. What's a premium? So precious metals have a price on it. It's the market value. And every coin company or online dealer that you look into will show you what the going rate is, the spot price for silver and gold. That's the market value of how gold and silver are trading right now. However, on top of that, you have a premium. A premium is the cost of doing business with the dealers. It also includes any numismatics value. For example, if your particular coin that you like the Queen Elizabeth coin, has become valuable or collector's value because she is now deceased, you add that on top of the spot price or the market price, and that is the premium. So you always have a premium, a price on top of the spot price or the market price. Those premiums are going to go up higher as the demand increase. And then as the demand increase, you're going to see shortages because millionaires are getting into the market. Billionaires are getting in the market. People, everyday people like me are getting into the market. Why? Because now it's not just conspiracy. Now it's just not hearsay. Now mainstream media is reporting about this happening, and we can see all around us that people all over the world are making bank runs. And according to David Sheckchman, they're not just making bank runs, they're putting it into precious metals. With all this high demand and higher premiums, you're going to see delays, not just because so many people are getting into the market, but we already have a supply chain interruption that's been happening since the pandemic. So get it while you can, because the co-founder of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company, David Sheckchman, says it will only get worse. We saw it get bad anyway during the pandemic when everything was shut down. We saw the supply chain interruption, and we saw the demand for silver and gold get so high that wholesalers were running out of product. And when wholesalers run out of product, then that means the dealers can't get product. So get in while you can. Why am I reading this letter from Miles Franklin? Because this is the co-founder. This is the head of the company. Well, his son Andy might be the CEO now, but this is the person who actually founded Miles Franklin, speaking and saying, I see things getting so out of hand. I have to say something now. He said, Andy told me that the Austrian Mint and the Canadian Royal Mint have informed us that they are cutting back on allocations. All of the mints will soon follow suit. At this time, the fundamentals are so strong that the rush into gold and silver will not abate. It will only increase. So people are rushing to gold and silver. You all know that. Let me show you how we know this. I'm going to get back to that letter. But while we're talking about this, I want to show you what mainstream media is now saying. It's not just precious metals CEOs or founders. But remember this article? The world is hurtling back towards gold. Remember that? Published February 16th, 2023. The whole world is rushing back to gold. And in this article, it talks about gold's return as money. So we already know that the only thing you can use to pay off debts in America are silver and gold. And we know, according to the Constitution, lawful money is gold. We also and silver. And we also know that many United States representatives have created bills and introduced bills such as House Resolution 5404 that was under number 45 and House Resolution 9157, which was introduced, both of those, by Alexander Mooney, the representative of West Virginia. But he called the latter bill, introduced in October of 2022, bill number 9157, he called it the Gold Restoration Act. So again, the whole world is moving towards gold and silver. And in this article, it just like David Sheckchman mentioned Russia and Asia. They're talking about how Russian and Asian allies are embracing gold backing for their currencies. And this is poorly understood or underestimated, I should say, in America, but not anymore because people are smart. And one of the things I asked Andy when I said, Andy, what should we do? He said, follow the money. Do what big money is doing. Big money is taking their fiat dollars. First of all, they're paying attention to what's going on. And then they're taking their fiat dollars and they're rolling it over into precious metals. We are witnessing a new class of buyers who are coming to us in a panic, David Sheckchman says, to buy gold and silver. They are very wealthy. Follow what the money is doing. They're rushing to gold and silver. We are processing multiple seven-figure orders on a daily basis. Not long ago, we had two separate orders that were over 50 million each, and it's only just beginning. So why is he letting us know this? He's telling us because if you're interested in gold and silver, get it now. Because when you have big money getting into gold and silver, they're not talking about $100 worth of gold. They're talking about $50 million worth of gold. Okay, these are billionaires that are now and even millionaires. So they're talking about hundreds of dollars worth of silver and gold. Do what you can if you're interested in getting precious metals or converting your IRA into a gold IRA, or you're interested in storage. This is Miles Franklin's contact information. You can email Andy Sheckchman and his brokers. His dad, of course, is the founder, but you can email them info@milesfranklin.com, and he's going to tell you about that in this letter. And let them know that you would like to have a list of inventories and prices, and then place your order. Do what you can now because even local coin dealers are running out of product. I reported, I think a week and a half ago, that I called my local dealer and I asked, why haven't you all been calling me just to let me know about any new product you have in, any coins that are different, or you haven't called me about anything, and I'm one on your call list. I attend the meetings at the coin collectors meetings that are in Jacksonville. Mind you, I'm living on the largest landmass in the United States of America. We only have 5 ounces of silver left. 5 ounces. That's it in this large mass. So call your local coin company, but many of them are running out of product. If you found that you cannot find it in your local community, please contact Andy Sheckchman and our friends at Miles Franklin at info@milesfranklin.com. So let's get back to right, because fiat is not backed by anything. We need real lawful money. So let me get back to this letter and let me know if you make sure I want to make sure you all can see it. So let me know in the description section if I need to blow it up a little bit or you can see it well. He said, not long ago, and I remember that was in around July of 2022, we had 2 separate orders that were over $50 million each, and it's just beginning. Please believe me when I tell you, premiums are rising and supply is fast disappearing. This is not the time to sit back and think about what to do. This is not the time to wait for the you know what to hit the fan. The, how do you say, the itchay. We're not waiting for the itchay or the ish to hit the fan. It already has. If you're paying attention, it's already hit the fan. So people are waking up. They're rushing into silver and gold. People with money, and a lot of people that's really interested in silver and gold, and they're into economics, especially if they study Austrian economics, they already knew. And when this time happened, you have to have silver and gold. And many of them already have silver and gold. So they're adding to their stack, excuse me. It's the everyday people who maybe do not know history, maybe do not understand or understand history. They may not realize that the fiat dollar is collapsing. Everybody hasn't awakened yet, but it has already hit the fan when all of these countries, one after one, have dropped the United States dollar. Only 0.5% of all financial assets in the United States are invested in gold or silver. The historical mean is 2.5%. That means just to reach the mean, our business will increase by at least 5 times what it is today. And before that happens, there will be no gold or silver available at any price. I'll read that again. Only 0.5% of all financial assets in the United States are invested in gold or silver. The historical mean is 2.5%. This means just to reach the mean, our business will increase by 5 times, at least 5 times what it is today. And before that happens, there will be no gold or silver available at any price. Andy and I are of the same mind when it comes to the concept of wealth. We do not measure our wealth in mere dollars, but rather in ounces of hard assets. This philosophy was imparted to me by my esteemed mentor, Jesse Cornish, all the way back in 1984. He taught me that there comes a time when one must focus on the return of their capital rather than the return on their capital. And that time is now. So for all of my soul family who are just tuning in, we're reading a letter by David Sheckchman, the co-founder of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company. Miles Precious Metals Company now has a CEO, Andy Sheckchman. He started this business with his dad over 34 years ago. So they've been in business for 34 years. They have an A+ business rating with the Better Business Bureau. They've never had one customer complaint. They have had an excellent reputation throughout those 34 years. And Andy Sheckchman, the CEO, is a well-renowned speaker. He is a well-renowned expert on the gold and silver market. So I am an affiliate with Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company. Andy comes on to our podcast once a week and sometimes every other week, depending on what's going on in the markets. But lately it's been every week to tell us about what's going on. And he doesn't have to do this. He has approached $9 billion in sales, and it keeps increasing. So he doesn't have to take the time to come and tell us what's going on in the markets. But he has guaranteed our soul family that if you email him info@milesfranklin.com and Ask him for a list of inventory and take your order, or have them to process your order. Then you will get the best prices in the industry over here, as long as you mention that Dr. Kia Pruitt sent you. Now, it is important to me that you get gold and silver from wherever you can. I'm an affiliate with Miles Franklin because they have the best prices in the industry. They can rival any prices anywhere. So this is why I am a proponent and an ally and affiliate with Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company. Having said that, on this morning, I received a letter from the co-founder of Miles Franklin, David Sheckchman, and it's a very urgent letter asking us to act and not just think about what's going on. Don't sit on the sidelines. A lot of things are happening right now. It's becoming increasingly clear, David Sheckchman says, that the banking system is in a state of disarray and is at a risk of implosion. You would also be wise to avoid denominating your wealth in paper dollar-based investments such as stocks, bonds, and ETFs. Even investing in gold and silver through an ETF would be unwise, as these will only pay you back in dollars, which is precisely what you should be trying to avoid at all costs. Thank you, David. I love that he is stating emphatically what we should do. A lot of people like me have to say, I'm not a financial advisor, so this is what I would do. David started a precious metals company. He's been doing this for 34 years. He's been working with other economists and precious metals dealers. He's been working with wholesalers. He's had mentors that are economists. He studied Austrian economics. He can advise us, and he is saying it's becoming clear that the banking system is in a state of disarray, that everything is chaotic right now, that the banking system is likely to implode. So it would be wise for you, it would behoove you to avoid denominating your wealth in paper-based dollar-based investment such as stocks and bonds. Why is he saying this? Because I don't know if you all remember, I'm going to get back to the letter, but let me explain this. According to Project Sandman, 209 countries agree behind the scenes to world peace, but also to return to the gold standard. What they said will happen is, when triggered, these countries will one by one drop the dollar. Here's something about Project Sandman. You can see this on Reddit, but there's an article about it on Miami Herald. So you Google that. Project Sandman describes 100 plus nations, 100 plus nation agreement. Back then, when it was written, it was 100, but it's now 209. When triggered, we will see these nations simultaneously dump the dollar and abandon petrodollar. When this decision is triggered, the dollar and all dollar-denominated assets will plunge to near zero, literally overnight. So what will happen when it plunges to zero, literally overnight, is that you will likely have something that Jim Rickards, or James Rickards, we call him Jim Rickards, calls an ICE 9 scenario. An ICE 9 scenario means that once the banks implode and the dollar becomes completely worthless and all dollar denominated assets plunge to zero or near zero overnight, everything will freeze. There'll be no banking going on. Your ATM cards may not work. Even EBT cards may not work. Everything will stop working for a while, because at the end of every empire, they print up as much money as they can. They rack up all the debt. They raise the credit. They use all the credit they can, and then they implode or just completely demolish that system, that fiat-based system, and they return to something else. Typically, they return to a system based on sound money. So again, at the end of every empire, they print up as much money as they can. Remember quantitative easing, Q4, Q3, all that money printing we've been doing, especially in 2008, and then again during the global pandemic and the shutdown. They were just printing money. They keep doing it rather than helping us, and rather than returning to the gold standard. So they kept printing money. They kept spending the debt. And remember Janet Yellen, January 19th, on a Thursday, I remember that day, said we've reached the debt ceiling. They do as much as they can, and then they explode that system and they move to a sound monetary system. So when they do that, crash the system and move to something else, it's called the crack up boom. So look that up, crack up boom. This is what we see happening now, and this is what David Sheckchman, the co-founder of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company, is warning us against. So again, when all these countries leave the United States dollar, the United States will lose petrodollar status. Now, the mainstream media, they're panicking like, oh my God, we're going to lose petrodollar status. It's happening. There's nowhere else to go. And the government will tell you we have to create these CBDCs, the central banking digital currency. But what they're not telling you is that we are moving to the gold standard. This was planned long ago. So even though the bad guys plan to completely demolish the system that we have right now and move to a CBDCs, which is the central bank digital currency that monitors all of your behavior. It's kind of like a chip. They can shut it off at any time. You have people in place, the white hats of the military, Nasara white knights, and I'll find an article for you, that are fighting against the CBDCs and saying that you cannot do this, and we won't allow you to do this without the sanctioning of the people. Now, what Dr. Kia Pruitt says is even if they do roll out a CBDC, you don't have to participate in that, because you can learn right now to barter, figure out what people's skills and gifts are, what they do in your community, so that you can right now assess what they're good at, and you can decide how you're going to barter. If you're a mechanic, you work on my car, I'll give you some tomatoes out of the garden. Figure out how to barter. That's the way we operate outside of the system, and get gold and silver so that we can trade with one another. Everybody all over the world recognizes gold and silver as money. And this is also why you need constitutional silver, because merchants, typically businesses, they know with those dimes and quarters and half dollars and dollars that are 90% silver. They know that that's lawful money. So that's called constitutional silver or junk silver. Now let's get back to the letter that David Sheckchman, Andy's father, wrote. So he's just letting us know that people are getting into silver and gold. They're rolling over their fiat money that's backed by nothing into silver and gold. And he's telling you that I would advise you to avoid denominating any of your wealth in paper dollar-based investments. What kind of dollar-based investments, Dr. Pruitt? What are you talking about, Mr. Sheckchman? He's saying avoid denominating your wealth in stocks, bonds, and ETFs. Even investing in gold and silver through an ETF would not be wise, as these will only pay you back in dollars, which is precisely what you should be trying to avoid right now at all costs. The time to act is now, before prices skyrocket and availability disappears altogether. History has shown us that the average return on investments is around 5%. But before demand increases by a factor of 10, just to reach that mean, the supply of these hard assets will have to run dry, and you will be left with nothing to show for your investment. The reason I've decided to emerge from the shadows and speak out, drawing on my 4 decades of experience in this industry, I implore you, I encourage you, I admonish you, I almost beg you to take action now and convert as many of your dollars as possible into tangible assets. Tangible is something that's touchable, something that you can see, hold, and feel, taste, or whatever. He says, I'm encouraging you to take action right now and convert as many of your dollars as possible into tangible assets. What are tangible assets? Farmland, land, which, I don't know about houses right now. The real estate market is a little weird, but it will go down, which is why you might want to have some dollars on hand so that you can purchase houses, is what some people say. But I'm going to listen to him. He says, put it in the hard assets: land, farmland, silver, gold. Some people say copper, that's precious metals. What other hard assets are there? You all can name them in the comment section. I will also say this isn't a hard asset, but I would say get some seeds, organic seeds that you can plant. and whatever else you can think of in terms of hard assets. Now, if you have too much silver and gold and you cannot store it in your house, which you could store it in your house, and make sure you have a means to protect that. That's another hard asset, that protection, because it is something of value. But if you cannot store it in your house, like in your walls, or I don't know, a cellar, or some type of vault. Some people had asked Andy the last time he was here, one of the last times he was here, where do you store it? And he gave certain ideas of where you can store it. But if it becomes too much for you, or you don't trust your neighborhood or your neighbors or whatever, you can always contact Andy Sheckchman, info@milesfranklin.com, and they do have a relationship with a storage company, and your precious metals will be insured. So let's get back to this. He talks about how the supply is running dry, and you don't want to get to the point where you have nothing to show for your investments. Andy's team at Miles Franklin is currently overwhelmed with the sheer volume of incoming calls that we receive on a daily basis. Our brokers are so busy trying to keep up that they do not have the time to reach out to their extensive client base. If you want to act now, and I encourage you to do so, simply reach out to your broker. My broker's name is Justin. I've heard there's another broker by the name of David. There are many brokers. I think there's another one named John. You guys know the brokers. You can put them in the comment section. It's good to have a broker, somebody that you can ask questions to. You can ask about geopolitics. You can ask about economics. You can ask what's going on in the precious metals company. And you could just call them once you establish a relationship, or email them and say, I need help. I would like to process this. I would like for you to process this amount in orders. So if you want to act now, reach out to your broker or email them, info@milesfranklin.com. The more information you include in your email, the better equipped they will be to expedite your request. Rest assured, we are doing everything we can to respond to all correspondences as quickly as possible, despite some delays that we're currently experiencing. So remember, they've been telling us for a while. Andy's been on our podcast talking about it. I've been talking about it. Other people that are in the precious metals industry have been saying that we're going to come a time when we're going to go to sleep on a Sunday night and wake up on a Monday, and everything's going to be changed, especially once the dollar totally collapses. People may take to the streets. People may become enraged. They may become afraid. They're already afraid, which is why David has taken to his newsletter, to his means of communicating with us, to David Sheckchman, the co-founder of Miles Franklin, to say the time to act is now. Below you can find current shows on which Andy has been featured. So there are many shows that Andy has been featured. He's been featured on shows with Robert Kiyosaki, who is the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He's also a personal friend of number 45. He has written books with 45. Then he's been on a show here. I'm not sure who. Oh, Zach Rector. I'm not familiar with Zach. He's been on a show with Mark Z. He's been on a show with Man Code 64. He's been on a show with Dr. Kia Pruitt. Thank you, Andy, and thank you, David. Who else? He's been on a show with Silver Slayer. These are all precious metals enthusiasts and podcasters. Arcadia Economics, my good friend. I would say follow him. Follow all these people if you can. I've had Chris Marcus on my show because Chris actually introduced me to Andy Sheckchman. They're good friends. And Chris Marcus also does a Silver Fest once a year around October. So I'll keep you informed about that. Andy Sheckchman has been on here again with Arcadia Economics. He's been on a show called Liberty and Finance. That's a good show. I would recommend you to please subscribe to that channel. That is an excellent channel. It talks about what's going on in the economic markets and what's going on in the precious metals industry. Then he has been on some other shows. So this is the newsletter again that was written by David Sheckchman. David Sheckchman is the co-founder of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company. David's middle name is Miles, and David Miles Franklin. Wait a minute. Yes, I think David's middle name is Miles, I think. And then Franklin is the name of his best friend. They gave him money to start the business. I think that's how it went. But this company has been around for 34 years. David Sheckchman is encouraging us to act now. Do what you can. Do what you can to get precious metals. And what I'll do right now is answer some of your questions. Somebody has a question right here. Oh, you're not getting, I know I've heard people say they're not getting any notifications. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. So family, let me show you something else about why people are rushing into precious metals. What makes precious metals a good investment? I wrote a list here, but I want to show you the article from which I got the list, if I can find it. Here, there are 10 reasons. They're going to give you 10 reasons why you should invest in precious metals. For one, precious metals is wealth, and that's what Andy Sheckchman has told us a while ago. I got this from Dinar Recaps. You all, I'm going to put this in the description section so that you can read this for yourself. And also you want to subscribe to Dinar Recaps because it gives you all the information, or a lot of information, about what podcasters like me and Mark Z and Mel Carmine and other podcasters are saying about the exotic currencies, the Iraqi dinar, the Vietnamese dong, the Venezuelan bolivar, and the Zimbabwean zim, the Indonesian rupiah, the Afghani currency, and the Indian rupee, as well as other currencies. So you want to subscribe to Dinar Recaps. They also talk about precious metals, and they will feature articles sometimes by Andy Sheckchman or by his writers that contribute to his newsletter. So this article here was published actually on Sunday, which was yesterday. It's called Silver and Gold, Goldilocks, Silver and Gold. So these are 10 reasons why gold is about to find its real value. Now, as you all know, Austrian economists, say that in order to pay off the debts, you have to revalue gold, and gold will likely increase to like $80,000 to $100,000 per ounce. It has to revalue that much in order just to pay off the debts that's on the books. Here in America, like debts in terms of, what do we have? Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and other debts. So you have to revalue the gold. These are 10 reasons that gold will likely find its value. It says gold and the dollar tend to move in different directions, and the dollar is starting to peak on certain charts. One of the things that I don't know about the dollar peaking, but what I know about gold and silver is that as the dollar decreases in value, gold increases in value. That is an economic principle that most people that study Austrian economics understand. Secondly, the Federal Reserve is about to pivot and raise interest rates, and this will cause a spike in gold as the dollar assets create further declines. So the Federal Reserve is about to raise interest rates. So we already saw the dollar and gold and the dollar move in different directions. The Federal Reserve is going to increase interest rates. The third reason that gold is about to maintain or increase in value is because of inflation and some uncertainty with inflation. And everything's volatile right now. Next, or fourth, you have central banks buying up gold. We already know that in Q3 of last year, central banks bought 400 tons of gold. And I'll show you that article. A fifth reason is because of recession fears. So when you see recession and depressions, then people tend to move towards gold. Another reason why gold is about to increase in its value is because people are pulling out their money from the banks or making bank runs. Consumers have pulled another $126 billion from the U.S. banks. Can you see why David Sheckchman wrote this letter? He came out of the shadows, the founder of the precious metals company, to create this letter because he sees all these things happening in the background. Another reason is because the bank deposits and lending services continue to drop. I think this is like number 8. The banking crisis is far from over. We saw Silicon Valley Bank stocks tank. And again, we saw a lot of smaller banks in America, their stocks tank. And what will happen again is their deposits will probably go into a re-rolled into larger banks in hopes that they get a bailout. But the United States Incorporated is bankrupt and defunct. That's another thing they're not telling people. But we know that the United States Incorporated is over, which the United States Incorporated is actually the pseudo-Roman Empire, the neo-Roman Empire that has collapsed. Our final symbol that has collapsed is when the Eagles lost the Super Bowl. You all know over here that the eagle is the national symbol or the world symbol, world-renowned, world-known symbol of the Roman Empire. When the Eagles lost the Super Bowl and the Chiefs won, that was a symbol to me, letting me know that it was completely over for the Roman Empire. Again, the eagle is the symbol of a Roman Empire. So what has happened is that empire has collapsed. They have no money. They are bankrupt. They were owned by the Vatican. The Vatican is over. It's gone. Now, everybody else is panicking, but we over here know that the good news is that our republic and the republic all over the world is being restored. But in the interim, when they collapse the system and it completely comes to naught or to nothing, everything, according to Jim Rickards, will likely freeze. So this is why we have to prepare now. Another reason that we know that the dollar is about to, the dollar will further decrease and gold will move in the opposite direction and increase is because of how people are dropping the United States dollar. Also, I think that's it. And much is being said by the Feds that they will step up and guarantee depositors. This will only further debase the dollar's value going forwards. The dollar will continue to be debased in value. For these reasons, and we are in the middle of all of them at some level, the transaction into the new digital asset-based trading system is underway. So a lot of people are saying what will probably happen is they're going to either do a CBDC or something else. What I'm saying is I see a move towards gold and the gold standard because I know about Project Sandman, as well as I know about the article that I showed you that the whole world is hurtling back or rushing towards gold as money. Additionally, central banks were hoarding gold. I'll show you that article right quick. Here it is. Central banks bought record numbers of gold last year. So here is a Reuters article that said on February 8th, this was published. It said central banks bought the most gold on record last year. And let me see how much that was. Central banks bought 1,136 tons of gold in 2022. Emerging economies, or so-called third world, fourth world, whatever they call it, countries were also main buyers. Emerging economies, and not necessarily a superpower like America, but other countries are also buying gold. Purchases predicted to fall next year. I don't think they're going to fall, but okay. And total global gold demands is the highest since 2011, is what this article says. So again, last year, a record amount of gold was bought by central banks in the amount of 1,136 tons. So we see so much is going on behind the scenes, and this is why we brought forth the article written by David Sheckchman, the co-founder of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company. I think that's it. Let's look at what the gold and silver prices are right now. I'm going to go to, let's see. We can go to Miles Franklin, milesfranklin.com. Andy said that they are creating a new website, but it's not up and running quite yet. Let me show you what gold and silver looks like here. Miles Franklin. I don't know if this has been updated, but it says that gold is 1,987. When I saw it early this morning, gold was 2,000 per ounce, and silver is just over $24 per ounce. So silver and gold, the prices are fluctuating, but look at this as a buying opportunity and get it now, because even if you see a low price in silver and gold, the premiums, the cost of doing business with the dealers is going to be higher. It's going to increase because of the demand for gold and silver. The premium is also going to increase because as the demand increases, the supply will decrease. So you might see that precious metals aren't moving higher in price yet, which they will. It's about to explode, but just trust and know that the premiums definitely will increase because of the high demand. Any questions, family, before I go? I don't want to be too much longer than an hour. Um, if you are inclined, family, please email Andy Sheckchman or the crew at Miles Franklin by going to info@milesfranklin.com. Send them an email, ask them for a list of inventories and prices, and then any questions you might have that David Sheckchman told us in that letter, make sure you put as much as you can in that email so that when they get back to you, they can answer your questions. If you have questions about geopolitics, economics, precious metals, storage, is what I'm putting in storage insured? Can I get a gold IRA? All those questions can be asked by the brokers, because all of these brokers are actually family members of Andy Sheckchman or friends that he's known most or all of his life. So they are very knowledgeable about the markets. They've been doing this for many years, and they're working with the founders. They know the founders of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company. So email them, info@milesfranklin. Again, ask them for a list of inventory. What do you have in inventory? And may I have a list of prices? Then let them know what you have. There have been times when I didn't know exactly what I wanted. I trust my broker so much. Justin at Miles Franklin, I'll just say, Justin, this is how much money I desire to spend. How much can I buy? What would I've even asked, how much can I buy, or what would you recommend? This is an idea of what I want. I know this is what I want. This is how much I want to spend. Tell me what you recommend. And they are able to do that, knowledgeable enough to give you some advice, or to guide you, or just to mentor you, or just to provide some type of information that will help you better make a decision. So info@milesfranklin.com, ask for a list of inventories. Let them know. It's a YouTube cut the feed. Oh, I hope it's not here. Let them know what you're interested in. Place your order. Let them know that Dr. Kia Pruitt referred you, and you will receive the best prices in the industry. Now, remember, on tomorrow, Tuesday, we're going to have a very, very special guest to come on, and that is Gold Star Mother Susan Price. For those of you who do not know who Susan Price is, she is a Gold Star mother. What's a Gold Star mother? A Gold Star mother is a mother of a fallen soldier. A fallen soldier, or someone who has died in a line of duty in the military. Gold Star mother Susan Price has a son by the name of Aaron Kennefick, who was a United States Marine. He was a what they call a gunnery sergeant, killed in a line of duty while fighting for our freedoms. He was actually a white hat that was in the heat of the battle, in the middle of a secret mission when his life was taken. After his life was taken, his mom had Black Hawk helicopters flown over her house. She was shot at. She was heavily surveyed. They tried to the eighth day, you got to be careful saying the nefarious beings that were working in the military industrial complex would do things like put things in her email to try to make it seem like she was involved in nefarious activities. But the creator and those people, the Nasara White Knights and white hats in the military, have been able to protect her. Since Number 45 came in 2016. She's been much safer, but she has been such a wonderful friend of mine. She has come on our podcast many times to talk to us and also to help us with our humanitarian projects. As of today, as much as I know, I think the latest number she gave me was like 176. She's helped you all with 176 humanitarian projects. And some people didn't even have an idea what they were going to do. Gold Star Mother Susan Price has come to talk about how to create a humanitarian project, what a humanitarian project is, how to create an acronym, how to come up with the 5 bullet points that you need, how to make it a beautiful plan, how to make it, I guess, make the presentation very, very palatable or very, very beautiful. She's helped people create pictures for the humanitarian project, and she's done a whole lot. So on tomorrow, she, as well as XRP Lion 1, will be here at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Come with your questions. They're going to answer questions about XLM, XRP, humanitarian projects, the gold standard, geopolitics, financial system, banking system. Because remember, XRP Dave worked with the Ways and Means Committee, and he has helped many wealthy people with their finances. So he knows a lot about what's going on behind the scenes. And Gold Star Mother Susan Price is a Gold Star Mother who was actually endorsed by Donald Trump. She endorsed Donald Trump, and she was endorsed by Donald Trump. So we're very, very grateful to have beautiful, amazing people to come on our podcast and to share information with us. Now, Gold Star Mother Susan Price has said the deadline for helping you with your humanitarian projects is tomorrow. She's been working so hard on your projects. Again, last I heard, that was yesterday. She had done 176 projects. I don't even know what's going on today. When I saw her on April the 1st, which was Saturday, she was almost at 100. She's at 173. So you all, please show her your gratitude by sending her some type of, I think it would be nice to send her a love offering, please. I will put that here. She's not asked for a love offering, but if you could please show her your gratitude. It looks like my feed is going out. What I'll do is in the description section, I will put her information where you can send her something to her Zelle account. I don't have it here, but I'm going to find that for you. And I can't find it right now online because for some reason, everything's acting up. Can you all hear me? I can't see your comments anymore. Okay. Somebody said, I was watching you on YouTube and the feed was cut. I quickly came on Facebook. So I apologize for that, family. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. I will see you all on tomorrow. I might come back this evening just to give you some information, especially if something happens. You all know that there was an indictment, okay, that happened with number 45. He will be speaking from his home on Tuesday. No, not Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? He will be speaking sometime this week. I can't, or is it Thursday? I'm going to see if I can find that for you. He will be speaking, number 45, about what's going on from his home. He'll be speaking. I'll see if I can find that for you. It was on Twitter. I don't see it. I'll put it in the description section. It'll be at 8:15. That's Tuesday. I believe it's Tuesday. He'll speak. Number 45 will speak about what's going on, how they're trying to put him in a clink, but how he's going to switch that. It won't be allowed to happen. He's going to shift the attention, I am saying, to number 46. So we'll see what's going to happen. Please email. You're here. Okay, awesome. Please email Andy Sheckchman and or his brokers, info@milesfranklin.com, and ask him for a list of inventory and prices. Please ask them to process your order. Let them know what you want, whether it's silver or gold, or you want storage. You're interested in storage. Yes, the storage is insured. Perhaps you want to roll over your IRA into a Go IRA. All of that, the brokers there can handle. So remember, thank you so much. Remember, this letter that I just read was from David Sheckchman, the co-founder of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company. So what can we take away in conclusion from that article? The time to act is now. They've been processing many orders, much more in the last 2 weeks than they ever have. They've had a lot of orders, 7-figure orders. That means millionaires are placing orders in the millions of precious metals. So David Sheckchman is urging us to act and move now. He has said that many people are operating on fear because of the banking crisis. It's not that people are trying to get gold and silver because they're greedy or they're just trying to store up a whole lot, but it's because they're afraid. They know that things are happening with the banking crisis. They know that inflation is through the roof. They can see interest rates rising. They know that the markets are volatile. They also see bank stocks tanking. And so when people see what's going on, they have to make a move. What David Sheckchman said, is he would admonish us and implore us to act right now and not invest in any dollar denominated assets, including stocks or ETFs. And I think he says stocks and bonds and ETFs. So he's saying, make sure whatever you put your money in is hard assets. So let me show you one last time what that letter looks like. I'm going to put it in the description section for you because it's a very important letter. And it had a whole lot of information, and it's something that you need to read over again. Is this it? I think, yes, this is it. This is a letter written by David Sheckchman, the co-founder of Miles Franklin, telling you that we need to get moving and we need to do something very soon. I'm gonna see if I can find the letter where he said, here he goes. It's becoming increasingly clear that the banking system is in a state of disarray and is at the risk of implosion. You would also be wise to avoid denominating your wealth in paper dollar-based investments such as stocks, bonds, and ETFs. Even investing in gold and silver through an ETF would be unwise, as those will only pay you back in dollars, which is precisely what you should be trying to avoid at all costs. If you want to act now, simply reach out to your broker or email us info@milesfranklin.com. The more information you put in your email, the better equipped that the brokers will be to expedite your request. Rest assured, David Sheckchman says, we're doing everything we can to respond to all correspondence as quickly as possible, despite some delays that they're currently experiencing. So there will be a delay for some of your orders. Get in there while you can right now. Info@milesfranklin.com. I'm sorry, info@milesfranklin.com is the email that you want to send to Miles Franklin. So that's Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope and I trust that I said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Bye for now, family. Peace. We will talk soon, and I'll leave all the articles in the description section. See you tomorrow at 1 o'clock with XRP Lion 1 and Gold Star Mother Susan Price. Bring your questions, your humanitarian projects, your pen and your pad. Tomorrow is the deadline. We will not be able to ask Susan Price or Gold Star Mother Price if she can help us on our projects after tomorrow. So get in there, get in where you fit in, get in now, family. I love you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.